Moving to old business, facility rental agreement.
We are working on this in the facilities group. We shortened down what was already approved. The goal is that we have we finalize the language and price scale again before the first of the year for next school year. So we will be working on that in the spring.
Okay.
So no action at this time.
Next one is policies. We had a policy meeting this last week.
First reading policy colon 6310. This is a very rough draft. We just want you to have something in your hands to look over. The policy group will have some time to work on it next month, as well as the leadership council will go back and look at any revisions. We may need to call a special curriculum advisory council if necessary, but more or less it's just policy on allowing kids to take classes online, which is something we're going to have to start looking at our policy to be a little more flexible if with our current budget restrictions we're limited in the number of classes kids can take here and or the classes we're offering. So what we want to be able to make sure is that our policy has the flexibility. If a kid wants to take a class that's no longer being offered here, we'll still honor that. As long as it's through an approved provider, it would still be honored on their transcript and on our RB. But like I said, that's still in its infancy stages, so we still have some work we want to do on that. The other thing we also want to watch with that policy is we'll have to look and see where we're at with our financially, because some districts that are in financial distress are doing some of these things online, but we also want to be cautious so that kids can't take a course or on the internet or in summer school and condense it into 4 weeks. That might be 18 weeks worth of curriculum they would be receiving and the experiences they would be receiving in the classroom. So we want to make sure we create a balance so that we're not diminishing the educational experiences at RB, but we're also not hindering students who might need to pick up or build their transcripts to be competitive for premier colleges or other programs of study that they would like to get into. So that's kind of why we're looking at that right now.
We talked a little about this today, Kevin, but somebody at the committee of the whole, one of the committee of the whole meetings, is somebody, you or Pam, going to really explain what it's going to do, and
yes,
and that give the public a chance to find out about this before
yes,
we vote on it. Okay.
I would probably say this would be one that we would continue to work on. I would imagine this would extend past March.
Okay.
Because I think before we start locking in one policy, we need to see really where we're at with our course selection process, and if this is the beginning of what a picture is going to look like until we can improve our financial situation. I want to make sure we have that flexibility built in that policy. So I would imagine you'll be seeing this for the next 2 or 3 months.
Is it also to say that this isn't only a financial measure, but it's a way to expand a curriculum?
Correct. As I said, for courses we're not offering, but now that we have a board policy of less than 20, that could impact the courses that now kids need if they still want to pursue those courses, you know, which the less than 20 was kind of put in for financial. So I mean, it's a little bit of both, Laura. You're right. It could expand a curriculum that we're not going to offer, as well as you know, it will help with some cost that if we can't contain run a program anymore, we could still offer and honor it on our transcript.
I mean, I think we could even talk about, there's some of our students who are very zealous on the fine arts, and over the summer they may take some additional fine arts courses because maybe they want to pursue that in college. And credit's wonderful. Or mathematics, they want different kind of mathematics courses. They go to Triton, and so we need to look at how they can expand their curricular experiences during high school years.
Correct, and I think the other thing that we need to be, we just want to make sure that as they build those fine arts credits or whatever courses they are, is that we have to be cautious they're not achieving graduation credits. We have to create a balance with that, so that because I've seen in some other schools where students will try to take a particular class over the summer so they can load up on other classes, but we have to make sure the integrity of the courses being offered in the summer or online align with or balance with what we expect a normal student to do in 18 weeks. You know,
Okay, so well, that'll be on our next cow meeting, we'll put that on there.
Yeah, I would say probably if not the next one, for sure in February, we might want to let the policy committee look at it first.
Your other.
And if the board members have any comments, forward it through to Kevin, and we'll look at it with that.
And this is page 11 of 72 of the press packet, this policy 6:310, if anyone wants to go to the website to see what we're talking about.
All right, we have a second reading, and that is family medical leave. The policy committee looked at it, and Tim, we just made some changes on the verbiage, just for the change it from they to you, and
Yeah, we changed it from first person because none of our other policies were written in first person.
okay.
This was a policy that at the last meeting, we talked about holding off for a month as we allowed some time for discussion between myself and the union executive board. They came back and endorsed that it would be all right to use the rolling calendar, which is what we preferred. So what we will be using, we will continue with our policy that is currently in place for at least the next 60 days and allow staff, if anybody should, take an FMLA during that time to choose whichever plan benefits them more. That's what the attorney recommended. But more or less for next school year, this will be the FMLA policy that will be full-blown in place after the 60 days expired of shifting to a new policy mid-year.
So how does that work then on page 5 where it talks, when you say rolling calendar, because it said beginning on September 1?
So
That's the old policy.
Instead of it being on a fixed period, so you'd get a certain amount within every period, it rolls. So within a
does it
12
say?
calendar month period, you get the family medical leave. The way it was before, I forget what the dates
Yeah.
were, what was the ending date, August or something?
Correct.
So if you had 12 weeks in April, May, and June, you could have 12 weeks in September, October, November.
Before the 12 months was over?
Within the same 12-month
Right.
period, you could have 2 of them.
Okay.
Because the way it is now, which is the way the law is actually written, is if you have 12 weeks in any 12-month period, you have to wait till the start of the next 12-month period to be eligible again.
When do we start? You know, because I had
It's
a note that,
dependent
when does
upon
it
your
start?
leave. It's rolls dependent upon your leave.
Oh, your first leave
So-
starts that 12-month then?
Kicks
Yes,
in
it
Yeah,
rolled back
kicks
to the
Kicks in
first
when your
day.
first leave, yeah.
Kicks in your
Okay.
first
First day
day.
of your FMLA, and then it's
Okay.
12 months from that first day.
Okay.
Is there any major difference between the policy in the packet and the policy that walked in tonight?
The one in the current book?
The
No, the
policy
one
that
was
you
in our
received in the
desk.
packet and the policy you received tonight,
Oh, no, there was
yeah, we just finalized the
the
day?
rolling.
12-month rolling calendar.
Yeah, we forgot to put that at our meeting. We forgot. Because Kevin he had just talked to the union. They agreed to that change.
Is there a page you can?
Page 5, bottom line,
Page 5.
the strike out the single 12-month period used to evaluate, that will be striked, and it will just be the first sentence. 12 weeks of leave in a single 12 rolling month period for the reasons specified above.
The other thing, Kevin, I'm not sure this, you could let everybody know, this is the reference to the DOL general notice that's going to be linked.
Right.
It's the Department of Labor.
And that was in the original one, I think.
I thought so.
And this is an update from what we had before. All right, any other questions on this?
Just the one that, how did you resolve the one that you asked him about the amount of hours? It was on page, that first one, eligibility, the
What page?
1250 hours when
What
you're reading
page?
the calculations?
The first page.
First page,
Section 1.
how was that
Number 2.
resolved?
Speaking with the attorney about 15 minutes before the meeting, he verified that they are more, if a person took their sick time, they're still considered an employee and working for the district. So as long as they are employed for a school year, the 180-day period,
Okay,
that hours would be okay.
okay.
Any other questions on FMLA? Update? All right, the next one is field trips and educational tours.
This is, I'm just trying to find one page here.
This is actually.
This is the policy we added the revisions after we discussed it in our second reading at the Committee of the Whole last month, or in November, that we needed some additional work. We added in the part about the free and reduced lunch. We added in the part anything overnight or 200 miles needed board approval. We talked about educational tours and field trips, and there's some administrative procedures attached for the board to see. However, those do not require board approval. Basically, all you'll be approving is the first page, which is the policy. But I wanted the board to see that in the administrative procedures, we're talking about educational tours. We have some field trip forms in place. We have forms in place to show that if it's a field trip form like to the Costa Rica trip, that we have letters in there to say it's not sponsored by the board, but that it's being approved by the board.
Gary wanted a clarification. Kevin, the administrative
Well,
procedure.
let ask Gary, why don't you ask us then?
I was
Okay?
on the extracurricular activity and athletic field trip request form.
Okay?
I think you were attempting to put in this 200-mile radius, get board approval concept in there.
Okay?
But then the last sentence says the teacher must also include the Riverside Brookfield Township High School District 208 Educational Tour teacher form and receive Board of Education approval. I'm assuming that last sentence is tied to the 200-mile or greater
Yeah,
only?
The other thing, though, is this would be a field trip request form if a team or club wanted to go more than 200 miles out of state, and it's not a sanctioned event. So this
Right,
would
but
be,
that sentence by itself is hanging by itself. It would, because if I was to read, teacher requesting the extracurricular activity or athletic field must complete this form. All field trips must have principal or designated prior approval except, then it says except this, blah, blah, blah. The teacher must also complete. So I would read that that's not limited to the 200 mile, it'd be limited, I mean, that's for this whole form. That's how I read this. That we have to get board approval, board has to approve this, anything, when this is filled out. So I just would ask that this wording gets clarified. That
Yeah,
maybe you group, field trips greater than 200 miles, and you put those two sentences together.
okay, I will look at that. It's an
Yeah.
exhibit for us, so.
Yeah, I know, it's an exhibit.
But that was the actual thing I was trying to clarify was normally exhibits where it says policy 6240, whatever that one is, exhibit 2, that would be to the policy, but these are actually exhibits to your administrative
Correct.
procedure, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I think the key with that is that if a coach said, hey, there's a great summer tournament in Michigan.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just,
So it's just maybe the placement of that sentence or how we tie that in.
yeah.
Any other questions on the field trips and educational tour policy?
I do, I have two questions. One is on whether or not do we want to have that clarification on the policy itself, on the second paragraph, second sentence, where it says students may be removed and sent home or back to school due to misconduct, health, or other personal issues. Do we want clarification at their expense?
I thought it was on there.
It's on the,
It's not there. It says they may lose money that they paid, if they got sick and had to come home. But if somebody misbehaves and they're sent home, where does it say
The
that?
parent permission slip.
it's in the rest,
Yeah.
it's in the
Yeah.
administrative procedure.
It's
and
in the
the
procedure.
I agree that if I am called due to disciplinary concerns, I will bring my child home at my own expense.
But that's in the procedure. It's not.
Right.
That's in the
Right.
parent sign-off.
Okay, all right. So I was just going to, and then on one of the forms, we have, so the form, it was about fingerprinting all chaperones. So administrative procedure,
Where you at?
it's the
number?
administrative procedure,
What number?
Which number?
There's
AP
three of
2,
them.
AP
1, 2, or 3.
AP3,
AP three,
AP3, she's
AP
at.
three.
What number?
It was number 17. Is the district gonna pay for that, and are we gonna fingerprint parents who chaperone?
Right there, we said the district shall conduct criminal background checks on all chaperones that are not district employees participating in an educational tour at the
At
chaperone's
chaperone's
expense.
Okay,
So they're paying for it. Chaperone's expense, they're paying for it.
So
Okay.
yes, if a parent's going, I think it says they
Correct.
should get a background check.
Yeah.
So we're saying if there's not enough teachers and someone else has gotta go, they would have to get a background check at their expense
At their
before we would.
expense. It says chaperone's expense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on there, let's hold on in that. Okay, my wife's volunteered to do this band thing, okay? So, first of all, what's that gonna cost? And two, if we have that, it's gonna discourage people to volunteer to be chaperones.
But wouldn't you
So-
want the safety to know that?
No, I wanna know what it costs first.
About $30.
Let's note the
It's a
district.
reasonable
Okay.
fee.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Okay.
cost you, yeah.
Hey, that,
And
That
usually
helps.
the chaperone's trip is free.
well, that's not the case. And
This reduced.
But you know what I'm saying, you don't wanna penalize volunteerism.
No,
If
I
it's 30
think,
bucks,
It's a delicate balance between us paying for it and sending someone with our students who has a background check, I think has been a topic for the last 2 years that I think we need to do that, and we can't afford not to.
I see John's
liability-wise.
point. Trip to France, it's worth it. Trip to the Museum of Science and Industry.
no, I
just
think this is
helping out.
for just educational tours where
Yeah.
there's overnight
Yeah.
or more than 200.
so they get fingerprinted, like who holds the fingerprints and all that kind of stuff?
The
The
police.
district,
Police,
the
yeah.
police.
The police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't do it.
And I hope your wife, there
Dan,
wouldn't be no
for,
problem, so.
a one-day field trip. This would be for
Just my
overnight
wife. Yeah.
supervision.
I know your wife, I don't think it would be an issue.
I think you're okay.
All right,
Except
any
for
other
the
questions on
$30.
this?
My daughter's got it.
All right, press packet 77, we approved some of the, part of the press packet in our last board meeting, policies 22, 2 semicolon 250, access to district public records, policy 6 semicolon 150, hospital, home and hospital instruction, policy 7 semicolon 305, student athletic concussion, head injuries, you approved that already. So this, we're asking you, the policy committee is, we have reviewed the press packet 77, the remainder, and have looked at it and said that we are asking you to pass this. Am I right, Tim? Would you say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
So
So we're going for the press packet, field trip, and the family medical leave tonight?
that's where I
Yes.
want to have the motion, yes.
Can I-
All right, any other questions on that? Press packet 77?
in the resolve, it said press packet, then it said accept policy 2.250, and then comma, and then list all the others. So the way it reads, it looks like accept all of those following the
Because we
commas.
approved it.
Because we approved those
We
last
approved the
week.
three
Last
that,
time.
You just
Last
read
board
them.
meeting.
the
Yeah,
last
that's
three
right.
we approved already.
So everything that's in the parentheses we approved, so it's everything in addition to that,
That's what
right?
we're
Right.
saying, accept it.
Okay.
All right, do I have any question on press packet 77? If not, can I have a motion, please?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves board policies 5:185, paren family and medical leave, 6:240, paren field trips and educational tours, press packet 77, paren accept policy 2:250, access to district public records, policy 6:150, home and hospital instruction, policy 7:305, student athlete concussions and head injuries, as presented in the January 10, 2012 board agenda packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dan Moon. Any other discussion?
Just a small comment. Next time we do it, when we say we are going to approve press packet, instead of listing the accepts for reading, public read, could we just say, list the policies that we will approve? And that way, if somebody were to go back, they would know which ones were approved on the date. As
Mary Ann,
opposed,
could you please note in it that the ones that we're saying accept were approved at prior board meeting?
yeah, so rather, because the people reading that aren't going to know what was in press packet 77.
That's true.
But it might be helpful for them if they knew that we approved 4.2, 5.1. I'm just general comment.
Okay, any other discussion? Mary Ann, please.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Right.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. Next item on old business, memorandum of agreement between Cook County and Riverside Brookfield High School 208 for the use of site by the Cook County Department of Public Health.
No work on this as of today. They had a meeting today, and we notified Cook County of our concern about the one sentence in paragraph 4 on that agreement where we would be responsible for our own defense. They informed us that we should have our attorney contact the Cook County Board's attorney, so I had John talk, identify that today at their meeting. I have not received any feedback from him yet today. So right now, no action.
Next one is school calendar, second reading for the 2012-2013 school year.
I think there was only one adjustment, and that was to put the parent-teacher conferences 1 week later so that there was enough time between the end of the first quarter and the time of parent-teacher conferences for teachers to get all their grades compiled and entered into their grade book, and to look at a first week or so of second quarter. Everything else remains the same. At the request of the board, the calendar was also placed on the website for public viewing with no feedback at this time, as well as it was also discussed last night at Patrons Council, and they were very pleased that the spring breaks aligned and they understood the start time and the rationale for having a balance of semester days with semester classes. So
this will be for approval for next board meeting?
next board meeting will go for approval.
All right.